ready to call this thing to order? If so, I will call to order the August 21 meeting for the Economic Development Authority of the City of Lynchburg. Start with a roll call. Sean Hewitt.
Here.
Patricia Mosby.
Here.
Kevin Peterzak. Kevin is absent. John Stone here. Toby Tomko.
Here.
Richard Tugman.
Here.
Sackett Wood.
Here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our July 17th meeting. Those are in your package. Do I have any comments, suggestions before I accept a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. Margette and Alicia, handbook.
Yeah, all I'm really trying to do here, and it gets worse every time, is the Dropbox, for you all to have access to the Dropbox. Because if you don't have access to the Dropbox, then we desperately, I mean, Keisha was not able to prepare checks for you to sign today because of the Dropbox and probably syncing issues, but I don't believe that the city supports Dropbox, meaning in terms of something, they told us that we needed to use something else, but they didn't give us any guidance on what that was. Now, that was years ago, so we have our whole, life of the EDA and all of our office in Dropbox. And we continue to struggle from a staff perspective to, be able to clean that up and be able to migrate it over to SharePoint or OneDrive, something like that. But it's getting critical now. But the entire time we've had Dropbox, and I know because I'm the same way, that it's a pride issue, is that you're a fully functioning adult and you do big things all the time, but not being able to get in a Dropbox is infuriating and not something you really want to admit to everyone else. And therefore, it just becomes, something where you're not able to get to the documents. We try to put everything in there so that at your leisure, you can go in there. And I know some of you have screening at your places of business where you can't even get through. There's a firewall and there's all the things. So we will, but I want to make sure, like on things like the handbook, because we spend a lot of time putting the documents in there and trying to keep it cleaned up on an annual basis, that you're able to get to that. So with what has happened over the last week, we will make a concerted effort to get in there and try to move even if we just moved all the files over to SharePoint, because that's kind of an unlimited cloud, and that way you'll be able to get it. All I'm saying to you all is it's critically important to me, and that you are able to access what goes in there, because things can happen up to the last minute of me walking in here and being able to go and change that within your Dropbox, plus the fact of what's infuriating to me, nobody's fault, just have a short temper, is my staff will put something in there and the folder makes perfect sense to them and it makes no sense to me. And I'm here 2 hours before they get here every day, and I'm spending my time looking for something because I don't know what it's named, right? So we have naming protocols and there's all these things. And so getting all that, having that cleaned up and making it make sense to you all is really important. So
a couple of years ago, maybe, I can't remember what it was, there was an exercise to look at an alternative.
yes, it was probably about a year ago before the staff turned over.
Okay.
And also the staff that was, going to be in charge of that. It's kind of difficult because the only people that has any historical knowledge here for any time, I mean, Alicia's got, 5 years, 6 years?
8 years.
Oh, 8. But still, she wasn't full on in doing it. I mean, I'm the only one that's had all that, plus Anna has files in there too. So we definitely want to move it over to SharePoint, right? But it's also something that if some of those documents, you know,
So
are
that was
lost
my
or not in there.
question. Have you made a determination to move to SharePoint, or have you considered other alternatives?
No, the only alternative that we feel comfortable with that the city supports would be OneDrive, SharePoint, and OneDrive. If you all have other suggestions, though.
Well, I made a few suggestions last year, but they're costly.
Yeah.
We use a NASDAQ product, Boardvantage, which is somewhat intuitive.
But if it's if it makes it more comfortable, Richard, for me when I'm recruiting people to come in here, then, you know, paying for that level, I just always struggle with what the city is going to support, and software especially is not their forte of what they do. They're just trying to keep the network running, and so they've never really leaned in. I mean, when I got here, the minute I got here, they told me, you need to have an outside drive for, you know, the level of files and the things that you have here, right? But, you know, so Dropbox was just what we were able to find at that point in time. But I struggle with the syncing, you know, issues and all of those and that's obviously what's happened with, from Keisha's side of the house, so. Definitely, Richard, if you don't mind, just sending back to me whatever, you or Barbara or somebody sending back to me what you had there, and we will look into that.
I'm not advocating necessarily, just
it's worth a look.
Because it's not as
Absolutely.
intuitive.
Yes.
And I also have seen, in fact, it kicked me out this morning, but I've got a workaround, which I'm not, well, I have a workaround, and it works, but it's not easy, for me at least.
Absolutely. No.
Have to keep digging.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm good.
All right, next item on the agenda is 109 Ramsey Place.
So I put this, this was late into your packet. So Ted had looked through the document of contract for 109 Ramsey Place, and the motions that that John has. One was the conveyance. This sale has the sale of the building itself at 109 Ramsey Place and 2 properties that will be conveyed to the EDA on Lakeside Drive that are owned by Southern Air. So one is a motion that the EDA is authorizing the chair so that those properties can be conveyed, and the second one is just to reiterate the motion to execute the deed for the contract for 109 Ramsey Place. It's just a full circle completion of the signing of the contract. I think they're in due diligence, continue to be in due diligence right now, if not finished up. And so this all has dates on it of how long of a due diligence period they had and all of that. So Ted gave us the language for the motion. For a vote.
Does the property have any comments? Does anybody have any questions? So first motion that needs to be made is, I guess I'll just read it in its entirety. Given that the terms of the contract dated July 9th, related to the sale of 109 Ramsey Place, Lynchburg, Virginia, which this authority approved at its meeting on July 17th and authorized its chairman to sign, included potential acceptance by the authority of real properties known as 2253 and 2273 Lakeside Drive, Lynchburg, Virginia, to be conveyed to the authority by Southern Air Incorporated. The motion is hereby made to accept conveyance of 2253 and 2273 Lakeside Drive, Lynchburg, Virginia, 24501, from Southern Air Incorporated as part of the transaction and purchase price for 109 Ramsey Place, Lynchburg, Virginia, on the terms as stated in contract dated July 9th, 2025, finding that such action or actions are in furtherance of the purposes for which the authority was organized. You could tell I wrote that myself. I need a motion such as that. Could I have a second as well?
Second.
All in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Now I need a motion to execute the deed. Motion states that on July 9th, 2025, the Economic Development Authority entered into a contract with Southern Air Incorporated for the conveyance of authority-owned property located at 109 Ramsey Place, Lynchburg, Virginia. The contract was executed by the chair on July 17th, 2025. In order to complete this transaction, the authority must authorize the chairman to execute the deed transferring ownership of the property to Southern Air and to sign all necessary instruments and closing documents required to carry out the terms of the contract. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries as well. Do we have anything else on 109 Ramsey Place? I believe that concludes that agenda item. Next up would be 201 Jefferson Ridge Parkway.
And 201 Jefferson Ridge Parkway has been reviewed by EDA Council and the Property Committee. The only hang-up on that contract was a liability clause in there for the engineers coming on site to do due diligence. So I went to the EDA's insurance company to send the language that was in the contract, and I also went to the engineering group to make sure they would accept the language that was in the contract. So they're the ones that would be doing that. So the EDA's attorney, your insurance company, your insurance representative, Campbell Insurance, and the engineers themselves were agreed with that they could comply with the language that was in the contract. So that was the only holdup to bringing it for you all to sign. So in your Dropbox is a clean contract.
So in this case, we have a recommendation from Property Committee recommending that the authority authorize the chair to execute the agreement in order to proceed with due diligence. Any comments from property? Any questions from anybody else? All right, so we've got a recommendation from Property Committee. We can vote on that. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. That motion from Property Committee is approved. Next up is an easement on Mill Race Drive.
So this is sidewalk project that has gone on for quite some time, but the city and Public Works is executing on the sidewalk in your industrial park, Lynchburg Center for Industry. They applied and received a transportation access, transportation alternative program grant from VDOT to put the sidewalk in there. So they need an easement from the EDA. And I took the recommendation not only to the EDA's council to Ted in Pavlina, but also to the property committee, that this easement be granted without any cost to the city. So the approximate cost of an easement like this was estimated at $5,000, but the city's the one that's applied for the grant to put the sidewalk in there for us, and it's for the tenants of that park. It's also a requirement if you do any expansion to your building of any significance, you're required to put a sidewalk in. That was the property committee recommended signing the easement over without asking the city to pay the EDA for it.
Any questions or comments on that? All right, so we've got a recommendation from Property Committee to approve the easement. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Easement is approved. Staff report, Margette?
Excellent. Well, you can see your staff reports are getting much longer, and a lot of that is because we want to make sure that you all are seeing the work that's done in the marketing department and on the tourism side of the house from a sales perspective. But, you know, thank all of you who were able to attend the Framatome ribbon cutting. Obviously, 201 Jefferson Ridge Parkway contract is moving through. You know, you all are probably aware that FY26 budget had cuts to air department at the visitor center level and at a marketing level. So we offered up the cuts when we were asked to, but nobody, I mean, we're rolling, so those cuts are do have an impact on our ability to deliver services. And you all probably saw in the paper, Blue Ridge Beverage is going to move to Campbell County despite our best efforts, but it's more of an impetus for us to get sites pad ready, to get those sites in shape and try for the authority to have property that's available to market. As we know, quite a few of as soon as property becomes available, such as with Southern Air, there's usually an existing company here that needs that space. And so it makes it hard to attract people from outside when most of the things you're doing are being taken by your existing companies, which is absolutely phenomenal, because replacing an existing company is much more of a feat. They're already invested in your community than bringing somebody from the outside, but we really like the opportunity to be able to do both.
That Blue Ridge Beverage building will just go on the market.
Yeah, I'm meeting with them in a week or so, Rick and I, to walk through the building. They've invited us. I mean, we had wonderful conversations back and forth. There are some other privately owned properties or utility or railroad owned properties that they looked at within the city, but it was just too difficult to get in touch with the people or get a price or, you know, something that they could move with. So it's much easier dealing with the authority than it can be dealing sometimes with somebody from the private sector. And Alicia finished, we had 13 local redevelopment grants. Hopefully all of you all got our newsletter, our first newsletter after a hiatus of a year, back to shades of the Dropbox. You know, I'm just telling you, the struggle is real. Went out, it looks fantastic, and the second one has already gone out. So our marketing department they're very young, but they're very committed, and they have produced a whole marketing plan based on the marketing strategy that we had before. where we are really leaning into all of the methods to communicate, to the outside world and the public, what's going on in the city, what goes on in our department, all of that information. So please take a look at those and give me, you all are our ambassadors. So if you didn't get it, make sure you let me know. And if you did, let me know what you think of it. We're planning for the annual report. We have to wait till all the numbers come in. We're probably looking at sometime in October to do the event that we normally have for that, so stay tuned. And we've listed the business visitation, and there's absolutely a lot going on in terms of site development. So since the last EDA meeting, we were awarded $4 million from VEDP for their Virginia Business Ready Sites program for sites A and B. And so what the goal was on sites A and B with the money that's in, that council allowed to be in CIP, Capital Improvement Program, was to gain access to those sites and to bring the utilities to them. And with this added money, VDP would like to see us actually be able to do some grading and have a pad-ready site. So that was when they came to visit and we did our presentation and they walked the site, that's what they brought to the table. So we also got, as I told you the last time, we also got an $850,000 grant from VDOT. And all of that is already, so what we will do when it's an EDA project in the city is that the Public Works Department works alongside of us. They may go out and get an outside contractor to actually complete the work, but they are the project manager for us, right? So we name somebody in their office to walk alongside them to make sure that that project moves on time. Because when you have these grants, you have to stay on top of what is going on in the field. So that is really, really exciting. We held the air service meetings, so I thought they went really, really well. We had 5 different meetings with different audiences and tried to make those small enough, with the exception of, business at breakfast at the LRBA, so that people could really talk to us about, their thoughts and feelings about air service and air service development. So we brought the consultant that works for the airport. And really, this is the first time over the last 6 months that I've been brought to the table to really lean in on how this impacts us and, what we can be doing. We have great numbers out of there. We have 87% of the planes are full. It's just you have one carrier, right? So that can be limiting. So all that work is going on. I was we held it at the Virginian, and Toby's team did an incredible job. And the rest of this is the tourism update, which Andrew is very specific in everything. He tracks absolutely everything. And then Abby has got, this is what she calls her roundup, and she sends this information up to the visitor center to let people know what's going on, but that could always be broader than that. Toby, if that would be helpful to you all. Upcoming events, and then I've got what's going on at the museum, so you have a full view of what goes on here in any given day. And that's all I have, unless you all have some questions.
So specifically, what are the next steps with sites A and B after this grant was awarded to us? Is it working with VDOT on road?
Yes, and that's already in process, right? So Public Works has already started, and had a meeting with VDOT and then gotten, the VDOT grant comes through the city. And so Winter's already signed off, you know, on that VDOT grant, and what they have to do is they have to make sure that the design came from the engineers that, you know, we hired that did the master plan and that kind of stuff, is that they've got to, you know, work alongside them to make sure that the access road was designed to VDOT standards, right? Because the access road could very well just be an access road to each one of those sites and not be a public road, right? But now it's going to be a public road, so that's different qualifications there. Then the next thing will be just the coordination between Public Works to go out and make sure that everything that is in the approved set of plans is, you know, all I's dotted and T's crossed, so then they would put it out to bid with the changes, right? And that's what we've got to find out there. We haven't done a performance agreement. I'll bring you all a performance agreement from the Virginia Business Ready Sites program, and it will have the caveats in it of what benchmarks, what things they want to see us complete, and at what level. So they know that is that giving us this additional money, which we're really grateful for, but that's another lift. And so they're working with us on what everything has to be, right? It may be paved all the way to site B, which is the first site, and then perhaps gravel down to the second site, and some of that money used to grade the first site, so you started to get activity. You know, start being able to market it, and people can see that you could move it. You would be able to move it quickly, right? Because that's what you want to do, is you want to be able to have the market understand that we're not a one-trick pony. We don't just have one site. We are planning for multiple, you know, sites. So if they got interested in the area at all, they might have more than one option that was coming online or coming forward.
Anybody got any questions or comments? Thank you, Margette. Do we have items for closed session?
Yes, we do.
Right, so since the authority has on its agenda several items for closed session, we will need a motion by someone to go into a closed session pursuant to code sections 2.2, 37, 11, A3, which allows us to go into a closed session for discussion and consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where a discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the authority. Also under Virginia Code Section 2.2, 37, 11, A5, which allows the authority to go into a closed session for discussion of a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding in its facilities in the city. We have a motion.
Could I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we are in closed session.